Ambassador Trell of the Vesperi Confederation stared at the holographic display with mounting frustration. The glowing blue map showed thousands of star systems spreading across 5 spiral arms of the Milky Way, cataloged, categorized, and connected by a network of wormhole lanes and hyperspace routes. But at the edge of the Orion arm, the neat blue line simply stopped. Human space, the forbidden zone. "You promised answers," Trell said, his 4 eyes narrowing at the human diplomat seated across from him. James Miller smiled placidly, his simple expression betraying nothing. "I promised a meeting. The distinction matters." The human embassy on Centauri Prime was deliberately Earth-like, uncomfortable gravity, excessive moisture, and temperatures that made Trell's exoskeleton itch. Psychological warfare, he suspected. "For 3 centuries, your species has maintained its isolation," Trell said. "You accept our trade vessels at designated ports, but allow no mapping expeditions beyond your borders. The Council demands to know why." "The Council has demanded many things over the years," James replied, sipping from a cup of steaming liquid. "Yet here we are, having the same conversation." Trell's frustration pulsed through his color-shifting skin. 17 exploration vessels have disappeared along your borders in the past decade alone. The families deserve answers. "Those ships crossed clearly marked boundaries," James said, his voice hardening. "We make no apologies for enforcing our sovereignty." "There are rumors," Trell ventured carefully, watching for reaction. "Some say humans discovered something terrible in deep space. Others claim you're protecting the rest of us. From what? No one knows." For a flicker of a moment, James's composure wavered. "Rumors are rarely useful, Ambassador." Admiral Lisa Parker stood at the viewport of the UES Vigilant, gazing at the cosmic barrier that had defined her entire 50-year career. To the naked eye, it looked like ordinary space, stars against blackness, but she knew better. "Status report," she ordered. "Incursion attempt at Sector 7G per XO," Commander Wilson reported. "Thoraxian scout ship. 3rd one this month." Lisa sighed. The usual treatment? Already done. Engines disabled, crew memory wiped, and vessel redirected with the standard warning. The standard warning was a fabrication, a tale about spatial anomalies and navigational hazards that kept the curious at bay. Effective, but increasingly less so as alien technology improved. "They're getting bolder," Lisa noted. "The Galactic Council is pressuring diplomatic channels again." "Should we consider updating the protocols?" Wilson asked. "It's been 70 years since the last revision." Lisa turned from the viewport. "The protocols exist for a reason, Commander." Before Wilson could respond, the ship's AI interrupted. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual activity at boundary point 34. The signature matches. It's coming back." Lisa's blood ran cold. Battle stations. On Centauri Prime. The meeting was interrupted by a junior human diplomat who whispered something urgent in James's ear. "We're done here," James announced abruptly, standing. "We've barely begun," Trell protested. "A situation requires my attention," James replied, already moving toward the door. "Perhaps we'll continue this discussion another time." Trell's training as both a diplomat and a covert intelligence officer kicked in. The human's micro-expressions betrayed genuine alarm, something he'd never observed in any human representative before. Making a split-second decision that would either end his career or make it, Trell activated the microscopic tracking device hidden in his ceremonial sash and flicked it onto James's jacket as they exchanged formal farewells. 3 hours later, Trell's unauthorized shuttle followed the tracker's signal to a supposedly uninhabited moon in the Alpha Centauri system. Landing discreetly behind a ridge of black rock, he donned an environmental suit and followed the signal on foot. Over the ridge, he froze in shock. A massive hangar bay had been carved into the moon's surface, its doors standing open. Inside, hundreds of human ships, warships, unlike any he'd seen in official records, were launching in tight formation, and beyond them, Trell staggered backward as his understanding dawned. The void beyond the ships was wrong. Not simply space, but something that hurt his 4 eyes to observe directly. a boundary where natural laws seemed to warp and twist, a boundary the human ships were moving to defend. As Trell watched, paralyzed, something emerged from that impossible boundary, something vast and geometry-defying, trailing what looked like fragments of other realities in its wake. His communication device crackled to life. Ambassador Trell, James Miller's voice was calm despite everything. "I see we have a security breach." "What is that thing?" Trell whispered. A long pause. "That's the reason the maps end, Ambassador. That's what we've been holding back for 3 centuries, ever since we first ventured beyond our solar system and discovered what lurks between realities. Why keep this secret?" Trell demanded, watching as human ships engaged the monstrosity with weapons that seemed to bend space itself. "Because knowledge attracts attention," James replied. "These entities feed on curiosity and fear. Every civilization that's discovered them has eventually been consumed by them, except us. We learned to fight back, to seal the breaches, and we learned that the fewer minds that know of their existence, the fewer breaches appear." In horrified fascination, Trell watched the battle unfold. The human vessels moved with impossible coordination, herding the entity back toward the breach. "If the Galactic Council knew," Trell began. "If they knew, they would attempt to study these things, to understand them, to perhaps weaponize them," James interrupted. "And in doing so, they would doom us all. Some knowledge is too dangerous to share, Ambassador." As the last human ship sealed the breach, James continued softly, "Now you understand our isolation. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge?" Trell stared at the now ordinary space where the breach had been, where human ships maintained their vigilant patrol. For the first time, he understood why the galactic map ceased at human space, and why, perhaps, it was better that they continued to do so. "I never saw anything," Trell decided aloud, turning away from humanity's secret war. "The maps end here for a reason."